Hello, all my Hawks fans. I am back with a shocking Hawks trade update. Could a Kristaps Porzingis trade be incoming? Well, I can tell you one now, NBA insider Brett Siegel, he had an interesting column that I read, and honestly, I had to bring it to you guys because it's quite interesting, and honestly, it could reshape the Atlanta Hawks front court and possibly back court. So I'm definitely going to get into that, but before I do, salute and welcome back to Hawks Digest. Glad to see everybody. I am Chris Tip Moore. Go ahead and leave your shoes by the door when you get ready for us in store in this particular video because it's going to be pretty wild. Some details, and it's so funny because we taking on the Chicago Bulls in this back-to-back series going head up, and we possibly, just may possibly, end up doing some business with one another, and that would be quite interesting and kind of funny at the same time because the Atlanta Hawks are in the ninth seed right now at 15 and 15. The Chicago Bulls are right behind us at 13 and 15 in the number 10 slot. So it'd be very interesting. But again, before I get into that, let me get into this, please. Thank y'all, everybody who is subscribed to Hawks Digest. We are right there at 3,000, and it's all because of you guys. You know what I'm saying? We just recently crossed the 3,000 mark, and again, it's all because of you guys. We couldn't thank you enough. So, again, here's the 3,000 and beyond as we're going to continue to grow this channel as much as we possibly can and as far as you guys allow us. So if you are a part of that 59% that is not subscribed to Hawks Digest, go ahead and give your boys an old Christmas present and hitting that subscribe button and be a part of the Hawks Digest family. And of course, always double salute to the 40% that is already. All right, guys. Okay, we're about to get into it. Got to adjust my glasses for this one because, again, like I said, it is wild. Going back to our guy, Kristaps Porzingis. Of course, our guy, our stretch five, somebody that was going to help change the dynamic for the Atlanta Hawks. And right now, he is dealing with a illness that is not actually related to the POTS diagnosis that was given to him last season. But still, Kristaps Porzingis, we are missing him in a big way because right now it's Onyeka Okongwu, and it's pretty much by himself, you know, because you have Asa Newell, but to ask Asa Newell to play like the stretch five right now as a rookie, that's really a tall task against NBA talent that's going to already know how to exploit him. You know, Asa, he's a good piece, but he's not ready for that just yet, in my personal opinion. And I mean, if you look out there on the court, you can really just see it's evident. There's times to where, you know, they kind of find Asa and they're going to use him around the rim. So with that being said, also, for those who don't know, Nafali Dante is going to be out for the rest of the season with a torn ACL. So there goes some developmental depth that you was trying to put together as well. So right now it is Onyeka Okongwu, Asa Newell, and also coming into the Chicago Bulls game, the third go round in the final matchup of the season as well. This came down about being Mo G having a right shoulder strain. So you're going to be down Mo G as well. With that being said, the Atlanta Hawks need front court help in a big way, like absolutely huge. And it's going to be absolutely massive moving forward on what the Atlanta Hawks want to do before the trade deadline. Now, Kristaps Porzingis, again, he's a focal point coming into the season, somebody we was going to use. He will be reevaluated in less than, I would say, about another week or so. I'm going to give it into the actual end of December because December 14th was the day that the news came down about the 2 weeks. And around December 28th, 29th would be about 2 weeks. So I'm just going to give it to the end of December to hear anything back about Kristaps Porzingis. Now, let's get into the real nitty gritty of these things because this comes from Brett Siegel, again, NBA insider, from his column that he was talking about. He talked about many different teams, but we're talking about our Atlanta Hawks. And he says trading Porzingis given his health problems and finding another front court option to pair with Onyeka Okongwu is certainly an option at this time for Atlanta. But rival teams in both conferences don't think that the Hawks would sacrifice the assets and Porzingis expiring deal for Anthony Davis. Instead, many around the NBA expect them to make a marginal move if they want to move on from Porzingis, which leads to the idea of a potential trade with Chicago. Okay, okay. So the potential trade is there was not necessarily one drawn up, but if you're going to trade for a guy, and if you're going to trade Porzingis for anybody, it makes sense to trade him for Nikola Vucevic. Now, Nikola Vucevic is a guy who's making 21 mil. So he's making 9 mil less than Kristaps Porzingis. Also, what makes it significant as well because Vooch is also on a aspiring contract just like Kristaps Porzingis. So, initially, if you look at trading big for big, you actually will have the Bulls owing you some salary cap as well, which you may be having to have some draft aspects to it. You never know what happens, but honestly, the reason why I wouldn't be mad at that move is because first of all, you have two expiring contracts, so if you trade them for one another, it's really not a problem. And Vooch, he's more available right now than Kristaps Porzingis if you want to go that route. Now, again, all this is just premature and there's no evidence that the Atlanta Hawks have necessarily looked into, trying to necessarily get Vooch from the Bulls or anything. But again, there are marginal moves that the Atlanta Hawks could make, and we're talking about Chicago. Now, Vooch again, like I said, he makes 9 mil less than Kristaps Porzingis. That's front court help. Now he is around in the Onyeka Okongwu height level. So again, like going from a 7 footer to somebody who is 6'9", it doesn't necessarily like move the needle as far as height and being able to be like a defensive anchor or anything anyway. Plus, Vooch is 35 years old. Now Kristaps, he is 30, but his 30, you can kind of just put them like in the same boat right now with him going with that illness. You don't know where that's going to go moving forward. So you put those guys in the same boat, but one thing that Vooch has over Kristaps again is being available, and that's what we need right now: some front court help that is available. And if Kristaps is still not available moving forward, if he needs another 2 weeks or whatnot, again, so that's going to continue to hurt the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Hawks may have to start looking at other options, moving on from Kristaps and trying to see what other contracts they want to take on. Plus, also when you think about it too, the Atlanta Hawks, as it stands, we're in a different situation than where we were last year when we're coming up on the deadline. Remember, talks about Brandon Ingram, et cetera, et cetera. But the Atlanta Hawks, they don't have to do all that this year. And you think about it, with Jalen Johnson, Onyeka Okongwu being able to turn himself into like a two-way stretch center because he's being able to shoot the ball. So proud of him for that. Trae Young returning back, Jalen Johnson playing at an all-star level. You got Nickeil Alexander-Walker as well, but you don't see that the Atlanta Hawks, being in a crazy situation to where they want to go out and sacrifice assets like that for a win now. It would be, the Hawks being labeled as a team to be, selective. They have that opportunity with that to have some caps flexibility because you think about it, Dyson Daniels contract extension, it kicks in next year, 2026-27 season, right? Okay, but also you got that Trae Young 48.9 million player option that it looks like right now, as present day to me from afar, that he's going to end up opting into that. So they want to have flexibility anyway. Onsi Saleh has talked about having that flexibility. And if you did make that trade to get off Kristaps because he's not healthy and he's not being able to contribute on the court, you could pivot and move to another expiring contract and still stay under that apron range or still stay, under the tax range with Vucevic contract. I'm just putting it out there. Let's go back let's step back for a second. Kristaps, he's still giving you, even in the games that he's played, he's still giving you 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Still shooting, over 36, nearly 37% from the 3-point line, and also 49% when you talk about the field goal percentage. So the Atlanta Hawks could stay pat and try to wait and see if Kristaps Porzingis can be healthy, if Kristaps Porzingis can provide something in the second half of the season. The Hawks could stay pat. They don't have to make a trade at all. But if the Hawks do stay pat, then that means that you're saying that you believe that he's going to be fully healthy, and you believe that there is no other move that you can make to bring him somebody in like Vooch to take over for Kristaps, especially if he's not able to continue. But what also makes this even sweeter and more interesting as well is the fact that when you add in this factor, more than 6 different teams around the league have already contacted the Chicago Bulls about Coby White, including Minnesota. But as you read on, nothing is intimate. Nothing is intimate. But 3 intriguing Eastern Conference teams brought into the conversation about Coby White and potentially being a landing spot is the Orlando Magic, the Cleveland Cavaliers, but hold on, who's that team in the middle? The Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks, y'all. And let's talk about it for a second, okay? Let's be fair. Coby White in nearly 30 minutes per game, 21.2 points, 3.5 rebounds, 5.2 assists, shooting 44% from the field, only 29% from 3. But regardless, Coby White is having himself a year. And you think about it, if you add Coby White to the Atlanta Hawks, again, a guy who's only making 12.88 mil right now. So you think about Vooch and you think about Coby White's contract between the two of those, you're looking at around 33, 34 million. So Kristaps Porzingis is right there at 30. I'm thinking if the Hawks wanted to make a move to try to snatch up both White and Vooch to try to improve that front court, get that front court depth, and also improve the back court as well, because outside of Trae and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you're not getting much from your guard positions, being real from an offensive standpoint, and somewhat depends on defense. So you bringing in Coby White, who is having, it's in a career season, it would be like a rental. I understand that. But it also is yet another expiring contract, because Coby White is going to be up to looking for some money, I'm pretty sure, next season. So you look at it as like, okay, you bring in Coby White, and I understand what you Hawks fans may be thinking. Okay, Tip, you just said he's a rental. Who said he's even going to sign an extension? There's not a guarantee that he will sign an extension. But again, you're looking at to stay under the aprons. You're looking to stay under the tax threshold. And you still can do that with making moves like that. Now, if you want to make things sweeter and try to gauge the Bulls a little bit, you could try to see if you can add in Luke Kennard, because Luke Kennard is making 11 mil. Now, when you add Kristaps and Luke together, you're looking at 41 mil. So the Bulls would actually owe you some money, if you was to make this trade. So they would have to add in possibly some draft picks, possibly another player. It all depends on how it would all work out. But at the end of the day, I don't know if the Bulls necessarily want Luke Kennard, because Luke Kennard has been somewhat underperforming, and he looks like a real overpay, which a lot of us already thought that to begin with when we first did bring him on, but we knew that he was a sharpshooter, so you was paying for that specialty, So, but at the end of the day, Vit Krejci really has been more productive than Luke Kennard. I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see the growth for Vit, one of our own homegrown type of guys. So honestly, I would honestly not be mad if the Hawks wanted to see if the Bulls would not only take on Kristaps, contract, but also take on Luke Kennard. Two contracts that's going to be off the Hawks books next year anyway, in Luke and Kristaps, for two contracts that is going to be most likely off the Bulls next year in Vooch and Coby White. You have Coby White coming behind Trae Young. Think about that. Yeah, you possibly could have Coby White coming behind Trae Young, and you also could have Vucevic and Onyeka holding down the fort until you're able to figure something else out with Asa Newell and Mo G. Also, giving some help in that whole effort with the front court. But most importantly, you'll have guys who are available. Now, me personally, I like Kristaps Porzingis, but I'm gonna be real. The logo, the Atlanta Hawks owe him nothing. He just got here. So if the Hawks do want to flip the contract and move on, they can. And it's not any tear jerking, any emotional bank accounts. It's not any of those things. It can just be straight cut and dry, and it can be straight business. You move one center over this way for another, and you still set up for the next season as well. You possibly may even get another draft pick out of it. Now, again, I will say there is no evidence that the Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks will do business. But from the article from Brett Siegel, I had to bring it to you guys to give you guys and what exactly would be going on. And if you guys are feeling it, would you guys move on from Luke Kennard and Kristaps Porzingis, if you can, for Coby White, Nikola Vucevic, and also possibly some draft capital? Or if they don't want Luke Kennard, okay, you still can possibly move Kristaps Porzingis, and you can still get Vooch and Coby White, but you'll possibly have to give up some draft capital of your own. Now, I'm thinking possibly some second rounds, because I don't see the Hawks giving up any of their first rounders, especially those valuable picks, coming up soon. So moving forward, that's just some options. I just wanted to kind of gauge you guys and see, would you guys feel comfortable bringing in Coby, bringing in Vooch, if it's possible, for just Kristaps and some draft capital, or Kristaps and Luke Kennard and possibly get some capital and another player back? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Until next time, guys, peace and blessings to you all. Look out for post game. We're probably still going to do that as well, but just had to give this quick update because, hey, man, that's what we do. No matter how big or how small, we cover it all right here at Hawks Digest. Until next time, guys, I will holler. And happy holidays, too.